ready, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 2, you call to order August 6, 2026 Village Board Meeting. Roll call shows all trustees are present, all staff is present, and our attorney Ashley is also present. 4, agenda changes. Are there any? Okay. 5, consent agenda. A, July 16th, 2026, regular board meeting minutes. B, licenses and permits as presented. And C, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. If there are no questions, I would need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. 6, pre-registered citizens to be heard. Are there any?
Devin and Burge, 838 West Main Street.
Stand where I'm at, or
Okay.
is it, this is okay?
Sure.
All right. My name's Devin Burge. I live at 838 West Main Street here in town. I've owned my house there for approximately 20 years. I'm just here to request that you take action tonight on O-6-26, ordinance to repeal and replace the current accessory structure ordinance. I am currently in the process of demoing a approximately 1,300 square foot accessory building. I applied for a permit a couple of months ago for a 1,400 square foot brand new building to replace it, for keeping my equipment and other items that I have on my property protected and out of view of anybody passing by. That permit was denied, and I was told that due to the current ordinance, I'm only allowed to have an accessory building that is 30% of my required backyard. That comes out to be approximately 850 square feet. So I did apply for a permit to build the 850 square foot structure. I would like to build a 1,400 square foot structure that will house everything and keep items out of my yard, keep my yard tidy and clean. Taking action and passing this ordinance tonight would help me greatly. It would help other residents within the village greatly. I have recently found out that as recently as 3 years ago, other residents were approved for a permit to build 1,500 and 1,600 square foot accessory buildings on less property than what I have. I have a little more than a half of an acre. I believe that there's been a change in the building inspector who approves the ordinance, and it seems that the new inspector is not following historical approvals and guidelines. So this ordinance would help everybody greatly with that, and I'd appreciate your considering passing that tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No.
Okay. We will go to 7, committee reports. There are none. 8, unfinished business from previous meetings. There is none. 9, new business. A, discussion and possible action on CSM of Wildwind Phase 2 property.
This was at the Planning and Zoning Commission. There was no opposition really with this. It's in Wildland Phase 2. It's all well and septic. Combining these lots would probably be more beneficial for us anyway, to have less well and septic in the village. Yeah, I don't see any reason to reject it.
Does anyone have questions? It was recommended by planning and zoning to go forward. If there are no questions, we would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to combine parcels 240-111-351 and parcel 240-111-352.
I'll second it.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. B, discussion and possible action on trick or treat and time.
Just trying to figure out which day and time you guys are looking at doing this year. Obviously, trick or treats on, we normally do it on a Sunday. Halloween is on a Saturday this year. Just didn't know if you guys wanted to do it on the Saturday or the Sunday. And what times, if we want to do the same or what.
Does anyone think?
I would
I'm
do it-
fine with Saturday.
I would do it on
Yeah.
Halloween. It's on a Saturday, it's on the weekend already.
Right.
And we would do the parade and
Yep.
everything like we always have.
Yep.
So is everyone okay with that? Do we need a motion or just,
No, we'll come back with
Head nod?
proclamation. We just needed
Okay.
to make sure what you guys are looking at.
Refresh my memory, the Monster Mash Bash, that's the 30th,
30th.
right? Okay,
That'd be that Friday.
okay, I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't, okay.
okay, everyone's good with Saturday then?
It's Halloween on Main. Is the official name.
Halloween on Main, that's what they're calling it, okay,
Hortonville Halloween on Main.
okay.
So,
Okay, we will go to C, discussion and possible action on Veterans Grave reimbursement approval for Outagamie County.
We do this every year. We get, ask the county, they give us the reimbursement. This year it's $345.90.
Any questions? Otherwise, we need a motion to accept this.
I'll make a motion to accept the Veterans Days reimbursement.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. D, discussion and possible action on O-5-26, creating right-of-way boulevard maintenance ordinance.
This was, to be put in basically to address the area between us, if you have a sidewalk or where the right of way would be, it's just a layer of grass that's technically the right of way, and it's part of the village's land. It's just making sure that homeowners maintain that.
So I have just a really dumb question, and maybe this is more for the attorney. So it says boulevard, but I know a lot of people refer to it as terrace. And reading this, the first time I read it, I went, oh, well, that's if there's like an area between the roadway. Like a boulevard to me is like a centerpiece, not like a terrace. Again, a dumb question, but I know a lot of people refer to it as the terrace.
I don't think that's a dumb question. I have no idea.
It's interchange, is where I've seen it.
Could
And
we
most-
add the wording terrace? Because I think if somebody read this, they're like, well, I don't have a boulevard.
Yeah, I mean, I could add in / terrace.
I just feel like, because if I'm a layperson reading this, I see boulevard and I think, well, that doesn't apply to me. But if it said boulevard / terrace, totally would be like, well, that's what that is. And maybe I refer to it as that, but maybe not everyone does, but
Yeah, I mean, it's interchanged.
could we? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just to keep people from
This is just like,
planting bushes and trees?
well, that's already, yeah, I mean, you already can't do that. It's more for the maintaining of grass.
Okay.
How about people who switch it to stones?
Hmm?
There's one person that has switched that terrace to stone. Is that okay?
Like bricks or even,
Like
Concrete.
River Rock?
yeah.
Technically, no.
You don't know?
No, I said technically it's not allowed.
It's not allowed, okay.
We would need a motion with the addition of terrace.
All right. Somebody more questions?
You have more questions?
No, I don't. I just, I'll make a motion for O-5-26, creating the right-of-way boulevard / terrace maintenance ordinance, adding the word / terrace wherever boulevard appears.
One second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. E, discussion and possible action on O-6-26, ordinance repeal and replacing current accessory structure ordinance.
So this went through P and Z as well, had a public hearing. There wasn't really any comments at the public hearing. just for everyone's knowledge, I'll kind of give you a little background. The current so the reason this is looking at to be changed is our current ordinance is odd in that it's based off of the required rear yard, and it's 30% of that required rear yard. So the shape of your parcel dictates more of how big you can have a accessory structure than necessarily the square footage of your parcel. So hence, you know, the gentleman who spoke earlier probably has a differently oddly shaped parcel compared to some of these other people who might have a differently shaped parcel as well. But basically, the width of your parcel times the required rear yard, which depending if it's ag, it's 50 feet. If it's residential, I believe it's 25 feet. You multiply that and then you take 30%. So that's how large you could have it. The problem with that is you get these weird ones where the gentleman who spoke, his yard is actually having a 1,400 square foot accessory structure is not going to overwhelm the neighboring properties. But then you get into some parcels where you're in an ag area and they can have up to 72,000 square feet facilities as an accessory structure. So the goal is to kind of reduce that down, but also kind of fix some of these other areas that have a little more room where they could have something better. So we based it off of the square footage of the parcel, still needing the setback requirements. And then we kind of also, the other issue we kept running into is if you have a detached garage in our current ordinance, that counts as your accessory structure. So if I have a detached garage, I can't have a shed. I can't have a tool shed to hold anything, if you were abiding by the ordinances. This would separate that out. So basically anything that's a 12 by 12 or smaller would be considered a utility structure, which you're allowed one per parcel and then one accessory structure as well. So that way you could at least still have that tool shed if you needed it for lawn equipment. Currently, you don't need a building permit if it's smaller than a 10 by 12. This increases that a little bit to a 12 by 12. You would still need for an accessory structure, anything bigger than a 12 by 12, you would have to get a building permit. So it does make that a little better for residents that are having a smaller structure on their property. There was a few questions I know that Jim kind of brought up to me. The one thing that I kind of was hoping the P&Z would kind of discuss a little more of is the children's play structures and how we wanted to kind of do that. If we wanted to consider that as in a utility structure or not, and kind of back and forth on that. I don't really have a problem either way, if you wanted to or not. The one thing that I do like about in that section that I would still suggest keeping even if you wanted to not have it be considered a utility structure would be the not using it for storage of materials, and it's got to be built out of something that's not going to create a nuisance. So that way you don't have someone just putting a bunch of children's facilities to store stuff in as well on the property.
Hold out of pallets or something,
Right. The other thing was basically Jim brought up the safety aspect here, which I do want to clarify. It's not just because it talks about a foundation or appropriate sized anchors that is a little new than what we have. The goal is you don't have to put it down a concrete slab. It just would have to be somehow anchored into the ground that was appropriate. Part of that is to kind of try to prevent some stuff blowing away in hard windstorms. So, but I think there was those, I don't know, am I missing anything that you kind of?
Okay, so I went through it. So,
Okay.
one of the things that I think it's missing at the very beginning of this is a definition of an accessory building and a utility structure. Because they get referenced here in and out, and they're vaguely kind of described in here. So I think this whole ordinance should have started with, this means this means this. Because when I read through this, it's confusing, and I got lost in it.
And there is, it's not in
But it's
here.
not in here.
Because, so, for everyone else, we have it all rewritten, our zoning code. The problem is trying to get through it has been kind of a struggle with trying to get an easier way to kind of get through it, little pieces at a time. So, the problem became how to split it up and make it into an ordinance, and so this is kind of what we did. Unfortunately, the definition didn't come in with this, but I think in the future, we're probably just gonna go forward and move a larger, faster, to kind of get through and just kind of buckle down. But, you know, definition-wise, that could be added in as well. I mean, we have them in the other paper, but.
So that was, when I'm reading through this, that makes it hard to read and go through it because I don't have a clear understanding when you start going through this as to whether or not you're talking about an accessory, whatever you want to do is an accessory structure or utility, utility building or whatever you want to call it.
It kind of talks about it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It's not as
Yeah.
defined.
It's not really well defined, and it bounces back and forth here quite a bit. I almost think this should be two different things. I understand they're related to each other, but accessory buildings and then utility, they're completely, I mean, they're really separate when it comes to a homeowner. And if you're looking for it, this is difficult was difficult for me to read. There's in the principal use section in B, it says principal use, you can solely for storage of lawn care equipment. I mean, I'm not sure that that's even remotely possible to tell somebody this is what you can put in your storage unit. So, I mean, unless we're looking to just after the fact, if somebody puts something flammable and burns down something, I mean, I don't know why that's there, other than to try to tell people this is what you can put in your utility 12 by 12 shed, is you can only put lawn equipment in there. You can't put your kids' toys, you can't put any yard stuff in there, you can't put anything else. It just seemed kind of odd to me that would go in there. And then when you get to the uses and structures, I didn't understand why we have size limits for B, and then B has 30% of the lot. They seem like they're redundant.
Let's just start on the exception. The exception for the utility, under section B, that
Okay.
exception is for if there is no principal structure. So yes, we don't want people storing junk. If you don't have a home,
Okay,
that's so that if I buy a 5-acre lot, I can put up a shed temporarily, and so I can maintain that property. Not to store stuff in there as like a separate
Okay.
storage area. That's
Okay,
why
all right.
there's that exception to the rule that in order to have an accessory structure, you need to have a principal structure first.
There are parcels in the community too, where there isn't a home, but there is like a garage type of thing. Is that what you're trying to say, is that would be the?
So if you bought a lot in a empty subdivision and wanted to put up a garage, it's against ordinance currently. Still would be with this. The only exception that we allowed in this was the type to be put in a utility shed so that you could basically maintain that property, so the neighbors or the village administrator doesn't have to go around every 2 weeks and call this person and say, hey, we're gonna basically give you a ticket if you don't cut your grass. And that's kind of what it's been. And so this was kind of a way to kind of help that.
And then you said the definition is in a different ordinance, but do you suspect that definition at some point would change? Like, we always want those two to match. Could we just make this one reference that? So we aren't, like, when you're saying a definition is in a different ordinance.
Yeah, it's basically in the whole thing. This is just,
Because
yeah.
it's possible that we could change this ordinance at one point, change the definition, but then contradict ourselves and have an old definition.
That's why it's in the one spot. That's
Okay.
part of the issue with this whole, or our whole ordinances is everything's spread out currently in different
Yeah.
areas. So when we have an issue, we have to type in 15 different keywords into our ordinances to try to figure out, okay, it means this here, and then see if there's anything else in a different section.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And if we miss it, now we're telling a resident they can do this, and then we come back later when we're talking with a different resident a few months later, and we find, oh no, this basically supersedes this in this
Okay,
other
so-
section.
Which explains
So
why
this
there's no
ordinance needs
definition.
a reference back to where the definition is,
Yeah,
Right,
as defined in
yeah,
section da-da-da-da-da-da.
right.
Okay, so that way when somebody reads this, that way they can say, okay, this is where the definition is, I can go back here and
They
find out where the
they
what
link
it
them
is.
once it's in community code.
Okay,
If you
all right,
guys-
so that's, okay, but, yeah, all right, so when you get to the next page here, we have the size limits
That's what you-
based on the current lot size,
Yep.
in B, and then we have the regulations of the 30% of the
Yep.
applicable lot,
Yes.
right? So they seem redundant.
It's,
So
it's
why are
a,
we-
it's a secondary measure to prevent overcrowding on a parcel. So you still, currently in our current code, you can't have more than 30% of your parcel covered with structures, concrete, etc.
Mhm.
So, let's say I've got a house on a 9,000 square foot lot, my house is, 5,000 square feet. If I start looking at trying to do an accessory structure, that's gonna drastically limit the size I can have because of the fact that that 30% isn't there. So it's a secondary cap basically to prevent someone who's got a very small parcel that's not necessarily up to code currently because of the fact that it was done at a different time. They might have a decent sized house there, but unfortunately, if they want to put on, we wouldn't allow them basically to put on if I have a 1,500 square foot house, I shouldn't be able to have a 1,500 square foot accessory structure on something that is only 5,000 square feet.
keeps the size appropriate for what's on your lot.
I got that, I still
Right.
don't understand how they're not in competition with each other here. So, so the B says, you have a house, here's your lot size, have your house, your accessory structure can't exceed the size of your house or this size. You have this size lot, same thing, just a different size, so on and so on. And then you get to D, and then it says, okay, that now this accessory structure that we told you can only be this size, if you have this size lot, can only be 30% of the applicable lot. So it seems like we're defining the accessory structure size in two different places at the same time.
So it's a secondary limit to prevent overcrowding.
Okay, but isn't that limit already done in B?
No, because that limit, because the limit doesn't it takes into account the primary structure, but nothing else. So pools, impervious surface, concrete. I could have a full concrete yard then. If we got rid of that 30%, I
Okay,
could concrete my whole parcel, which deals with a lot more issues with
Nice.
stormwater, and that's kind of part of that extra.
I guess I don't understand, it's confusing to me, I don't understand how.
It's what our current code is as well.
Yeah, I mean, I understand this needs to be
Right.
redone, because the current one is a word salad. But I still don't understand how these are not doing the same thing. I mean, unless you're including something in one that you're not including in the other. So I'm
Are you
assuming
talking about 5 and D?
B and D,
B and D.
yes.
So yes, so the detached structure, basically the regulations there talks more too on the setback, part of the setbacks, dimensions, all of that has to be included into that lot area coverage. It just kind of defines it a little more in detail.
Based on type of district. It could be R1, R2, it could be downtown, it could be, yeah, based on the limitations within I see that helps define it within the district here. But maybe, does the attorney have any input on, like, this is typical for, I know we've looked at this and then we've revised it, and this is another time we're looking at it, and I think it better defines it, and I know that doesn't seem what you want to hear, Jim, but The other
Yeah.
one was actually a little, it actually prevented people from utilizing their yards the way they wanted to. Like this gentleman here
Oh, yeah,
is
no,
trying to,
I completely
this-
understand. I'm just,
this kind of opens up a path, but still within certain guidelines.
I'm just looking at this and I'm reading it and it's confusing to me. So, I mean, if you throw this in front of somebody else, if it's confusing to me, it's gonna be confusing to other people. It's just, you know, I see 9,000 to 1,500 square feet. Okay, you can have a structure that doesn't exceed 1,500 square feet, which I assume if we do the math is somewhere around 30%. I didn't do the math. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense to give that limitation, right? Because since we're doing 30% of the detached structure. And then we have 15,000 to 30,000 square feet gets you three, actually that's smaller, that's only 10%. So, okay, so in D it says we can't exceed 30%, and in B it says, like in number 2, B2, it says 10%. If you have 30,000 square feet, you can only have 3,000 square foot secondary structure, but it still has, so it's limited beyond the 30%. Is that the intent? Is that
Yeah.
we're trying to get even smaller than? Then why do we have 30%?
It's a secondary area to basically count in, whether it's concrete, patios, et cetera.
Okay.
That we don't have in these other areas. So
So,
if I have a giant concreted backyard to put in a tennis court, all of that's counted in with that
okay, so the,
threshold. Does
so
the
the-
30% really come into play a lot? Probably not. But it is there to prevent that actual maximum usage of the lot.
okay, so in D, the confusing part here is it says accessory buildings, right? Where we've already covered accessory building sizes in B, which is more limiting than what you're providing for D. And what I think you're saying is that D itself is meant for other structures, like a swimming pool and so on, that you might put in the yard.
It's all of them added together.
Oh, it's all of them added together.
Correct.
Okay,
So if you had multiple items, it's,
If I have a
Those
swimming pool, a
items.
tennis court, and let's say some pickleball courts, and then I wanna throw in.
okay, so again, we're back to the definition of accessory buildings. It says accessory buildings shall not collectively cover more than 30%. So a swimming pool is considered a accessory building?
No.
That's what I'm saying, is that,
And
we're
then
back to the
further down, it
definition.
says the
Accessory
dimensions
structure.
of any swimming pool, utility structure, detached garage, tennis court, or other detached accessory building structure shall be included in the determination of the available lot coverage for the accessory structures.
Okay, so that means that we're pooling them together,
Right.
okay. All right, then D is just confusing. The percentage shouldn't be at the beginning saying the accessory structures shouldn't cover more than 30%, because that's a full sentence. You're done, period. Accessory buildings shall not collectively cover more than 30%.
I'm
And then
not-
it goes on to
It's
say,
hard
well,
for-
we're gonna add all this
Oh.
other stuff in, that actually shouldn't exceed 30%. So it's written in a way that it says that accessory structures are 30% when it's actually a collective. Okay, so it's just confusing the way that it's written. It's not clear.
I think it would be clear, A, with the definitions, and B, it's all been, to be honest, it's been ran by our attorney, and if our attorney is comfortable with the language, I mean, obviously, it's defensible, is what I'm getting at more than anything.
I mean, there's always room for improvement with
Right.
all this language. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah,
That this
it's
could be better.
it's to try to read it. When you get past the first sentence, it just says 30%, and then, all right, so that,
I
back to
think in the
definition.
the definition of accessory buildings, it actually adds
Yeah.
a lot of that pooling in instead of the accessory structure.
To answer the initial question, is this common? I mean, it's handled this way in other codes. I think that you have uncommon lots, and so you have uncommon sort of problems sometimes
Yeah.
to deal with those lots.
I think, so when we started running through scenarios, because this is something we did in planning and zoning a few months back prior, we pulled a bunch of those up, kind of looked at them, and that's why we came to the weird structure that we have here with the limits of square feet, because we looked at some that were, we had a bunch of different parcels for each of these sections, and looked at what it would look like to have an accessory structure at the maximum amount. And that's why we came down to have some of these shall not exceed 1,500 square feet, or shall not exceed 3,000 square feet for an accessory structure, based on the parcel size. Because when we looked at the areas and where you're gonna see these things, it was trying to allow people to do more than what they could currently, but not have it be so drastic that the neighbors are annoyed.
All right, so I understand that, it needed to be clarified, because I read it literally right from start to finish, and it's confusing. All right, so, beyond that, I'm looking at J, the lawn accessories. I would prefer that if we added the word permanent to that, right? So that way, people don't think that you can't put the little gravestones out in your front yard during Halloween decorations, without violating, you have to be a certain number of feet from your edge of your property for your decorations. I mean, I understand flagpoles, fountains, pools, I mean, these are all permanent structures, and they absolutely need to follow the same rules as everything else, but temporary lawn accessories, non-permanent.
What letter is that, Jim?
J.
It says purely decorative garden accessories such as pools, fountains, sundials, flagpoles, etc. shall be permitted in setback areas but not closer than 5 feet.
Yeah, I would feel better if you put permanent, accessories, not,
But
They're
they're not
temporary.
permanent though.
temporary, I mean, decorations.
They're purely decorative garden accessories such as pools, fountains, statuary, sundials, flagpoles, etc. I don't think anyone's gonna take that as saying you can't have a gnome 5 feet from your neighbor's parcel.
Okay.
It's,
All right.
I mean, could we change some of the wording on purely decorative garden accessories and just say, yard accessories such as pools, fountains? Sure.
Okay.
If that helps, I don't know.
All right. I looked at the retaining wall one,
Yep.
and I'm fairly certain that my neighbor, retaining walls are typically dictated by the terrain, right? And one of my neighbors that just cut a house in, I think their retaining wall was about 10, 12 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's already in violation of what we have. I'm not sure are we planning, just gonna do variances when somebody's terrain doesn't allow them to build? We had a lot in my neighborhood that had a really, really steep slope. So they built a retaining wall out of boulders, and it's not a traditional retaining wall, it's got a slope to it. Right, so it's sort of like a really, really steep hill, but it is like 10, 12 feet, which my reading of this says it would be in violation of they wouldn't have been able to build that house, because without that retaining wall, they couldn't build the house.
They could have, and they would just have to stay off 5 feet. I think the goal of this was to prevent, basically, there is a new home that has gone in that's basically brought in dirt, filled it 5 feet high, and now we have water that's going off on property, and now we have neighborhood disputes because of it. So I think this is partially trying to prevent some of that.
Okay. The portable storage units.
Yep.
I completely agree with the intent of trying to not have them, but the one that says portable storage unit shall not be located within 10 feet of the right-of-way.
Yep.
Wouldn't that make it so that you couldn't get one of like the moving storage units and put it in your driveway?
Every driveway should technically be 25 feet to
Okay, so you
the
would be able-
garage,
you would
so
be
you
able
should
to
be
get-
able to have that in there.
So, but you wouldn't put it up against a garage, so you'd have to have a way to get to it.
Right.
Which means if you get anything that's over like a 12-foot storage unit, you wouldn't be able to put it without violating this.
Potentially.
And you can't have it anywhere that's on that's not on an impervious surface, so basically the only place you can put it in is your driveway.
Right.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that that's probably going to end up, you know, either a violation or a special, I mean, like my neighbor moved out recently and they parked a pods unit on the road. I'm assuming they called the police department to get permission for it, but that's just something I wanted to point out that very likely is something that most people, unless they have a very small apartment, are gonna have a storage unit that's gonna exceed that limitation.
Potentially.
And then, who's the community development
Yeah,
director?
that needs to get changed to zoning administrator.
Okay,
It would be basically a zoning administrator. If I was an administrator, we made a separate person, they'd be considered a community development director typically.
so who's that gonna get changed to?
It would be me, zoning
Okay.
administrator.
Okay, so you're the zoning administrator too?
Yes.
That's the type, okay. I didn't know you had that title.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all the things I picked out of this. I found it very hard to read, very hard to know if even my current home was in violation of a lot of these things. In fact, I think I am in violation of a number of them.
I would say most people are in violation currently.
Yeah,
I mean, if I went through with our current ordinance, I would say that there would probably be at least 70% of the homes in the village are probably outside of the ordinance. Currently.
In some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So your grandfather did,
is that how that
after
works?
so many
So
years.
what would happen is, let's say you wanted to put in an accessory structure. At that
Okay.
point, we would make you become into code in order to get that building permit. So then if you had 4 structures, we'd say, you could have your utility shed and an accessory structure. So if you wanted to make it, you'd have to just make it a little larger if you wanted to fit this stuff.
Okay. The one change that I would definitely suggest, that other than the things I've mentioned, is that it would be my opinion that we remove the children's play area stuff as an accessory, as a listing, as a utility structure.
So
I don't think.
I had a
It's like an
second
afternoon,
reason.
most of them, takes an
Right.
afternoon to take it back down.
So I basically kept I removed, I have a separate one that basically keeps all the names in there so that people understand what we're talking about for play structures, and it basically says that they're not considered utility structures, and then you cannot, I left that last paragraph in there. Building permit is not required for the construction of a play structure, and then play structures shall not be used for storage or be constructed out of materials that would constitute a nuisance. So, that way it's not a count against them, it's just, we still can kind of regulate if people are just using them as storage devices.
Okay, so I have one last question. Given that, since we can talk about this now, given the gentleman's, position here that spoke earlier, where would he fall on this? I'm just curious as to,
Well, yeah, I was gonna ask,
As
like,
to,
does
you know, if we
this
had-
fix his current
Yeah.
problems?
Yes.
does this fix
Yes.
this problem?
So he came in, we talked, we looked through the ordinance, I showed him where the proposed ordinance would allow him to get up to, size-wise, and what the current ordinance allows. And that's why he's obviously happy if this passes, because it allows him to kind of do what he pretty much had currently, maybe a tiny bit bigger, but, his parcel's also kind of oddly shaped somewhat, so that kind of hindered him in the other, current zoning code that kind of caused a problem for him too.
Quick question then to look, so if he's having this problem, this solves this problem, does it screw someone else?
Potentially. The issue that you should know with anything that we change in the zoning code is that there's gonna be unintended consequences, so that's why the goal is to try to think through as many as possible to prevent them, but there is gonna be things that, yeah, if someone wants to build a large, very large accessory structure on, let's say, an agricultural house, or an agricultural district, they can only build basically, I think it would be up to 1.5 size of their current primary structure. So, if I have a 1,500 square foot home on a 5-acre lot, I could only build technically a 3,000, or, about a 2,500 or something square foot, accessory structure. But currently, they could probably put in, 20,000 So they will have a little bit of a reduction there. There's not a lot of parcels that are that large in the village. We have a few that are kind of on the northern side that are kind of on the way out of the village, and then one or two on Main Street towards the edge there, but
So could these people ask for a conditional use?
no,
No.
for what?
There's no way to, if they wanted to do something bigger?
No.
They would just be, this
If
is
you-
it? and-
The problem with any, if you start adding in those things, those caveats, then the concern is basically it's all based on what a board feels at that time. And it turns into a kind of a nightmare if you're
So
doing
we're
this.
locked in.
If you wanna change the ordinance, that's what I would suggest doing. The exceptions for certain people are usually becomes problematic.
That's what I was just gonna ask about, so like in like B6, so I was concerned about the height too, and I noticed it's in here, but the language is the accessory building, unless otherwise specified, cannot be taller than the principal structure, which I agree with.
Right.
Where's unless?
What is the otherwise specified? How does
So
that work?
within certain districts, when we get to those, I believe the PI district's one, that the cap, there isn't really a cap for an accessory structure, other than, I think it's whatever the cap is for the primary, which is 61. But agricultural has a little larger of a accessory structure size. Because typically, if you have a ranch style home and you're on an ag lot and you're farming, you have a barn,
Okay,
it
that makes
allows
sense.
it allows those exceptions. So that was one of those things where we were trying to figure out, is there something we're missing, and that's why we added that one in.
Okay, so it's just implied.
It,
Okay,
it makes you look at the
Yeah,
district,
okay.
and it'll say directly in that district, accessory structure maximum height,
Okay,
and it would state that.
okay. All right, I was just wondering where that was too. All right. So that's why it was in here.
Yeah, I think so going forward, the plan is to do one section more that we have on the next public hearing for the next planning and zoning, and then after that, I'm gonna just do the rest of them through planning and zoning at once, and then bring it back to the board and let the board kind of slowly go through it. Hopefully, we don't have a ton of stuff on the agenda, but.
So basically, we could pass this tonight with the corrections that we asked for, or the additions?
Depending on the significance of those changes.
Right.
Definitions, so. So that is the link the definitions, change the community development director, and incorporate the changes specifying that the
Play structure is.
toy structures do not qualify as an accessory, or as a utility structure. Sorry. Is that,
What was the first one?
just put a link in here somewhere where the definitions are, even in the written one.
Those are fine changes. That doesn't
Yeah,
materially
Change.
can't talk,
Yeah.
alter the
Okay.
purpose of the ordinance.
so, okay, so,
I don't know if we are going to update that onto the website until they're all done anyway, so it won't technically,
The linking.
the linking won't
Yeah.
necessarily happen until that point.
okay.
So, typically we do quarterly updates to our meeting code, we send them all in at once, they update it on the website, and then it's good.
Okay. All right. Is there anybody have anything otherwise since our, okay. I'll make a motion to approve O-6-26 with the modifications detailed
I'll
just
second.
prior to this.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. F, discussion and possible action on O-7-26, ordinance repealing and replacing current public institution district.
Sorry, I'm just getting there. The PI district is, was probably one of our more newer districts that was created. When we first created that, it was based off of some other communities, districts that we saw. There was some good things about it, and then some things that we didn't really like about it. And so some of the changes we have in here are to address some of those. One of the changes is the off-street parking requirements that was changed. Current code, I think it's every 200 square feet of floor space you would need a parking stall, which works good for like a community building like this. But when you go into it, like let's say an elementary school, and you're talking, I need to have 175 parking stalls for an elementary school who are kids that don't drive, and you know, the needs are different depending on the type of civic use. That was why we kind of added in the off-street parking requirements, kind of changed in by the type of use. So churches would have a different requirement, high schools, elementary, library, etc. That was the biggest change.
Is there anything that we have currently that would be a violation to this?
So of this one,
Yeah.
no. Currently we have a few that are kind of in violation, like I don't think the high school, but the elementary school and the Hortonville Elementary School, the Hortonville Middle School would both be in violation currently. But this would mostly fix that. Make it better at least.
I just wanna make sure that we're not gonna get ourselves into a spot where we have a business or something in Hortonville that is gonna wanna make a change, and then we have to tell them that you can't because you don't meet the
No,
requirements.
and
It's unintended
this
to
is
make
not businesses, it's only
golf course,
public institutions, so parks, civic,
golf courses.
public golf courses, not a private one, but, a golf course potentially, but I think realistically, this is something, if someone came up to us and most of the time, people come up to us, if it's something that is reasonable, we bring it back to P&Z and we say, this was an unintended consequence, I think we should look at this. If P&Z likes, it agrees, or doesn't, it'd come to the board, and then we discuss it. That's how we've kind of done things in the past, too. It's kind of what you have to do. I don't know any other way to do things. It's better than what it currently is,
Okay.
but we're not
I just wanna
overdoing
make
it.
sure that we're not gonna, like, stick somebody, like, so the Hortonville Golf Course doesn't fall under this?
Even if it did, it's 4 per hole.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really affect them. They're not they're not in this district,
Okay.
so that they're in their own separate district, because golf courses can be in a few different ones. I believe they're in a commercial district, actually. I'd have to double check. But yeah, if they wanted to be in the public institution, you might need to adjust that. Also, you know, I'm not married to these off-street parking requirements. I don't know how it's gonna go I've ran scenarios and some of them make sense.
Okay, so and not just the parking, but I'm looking
Right.
at the other stuff too. I just wanna make sure that we're not, creating a situation where somebody is already in violation to this, that is going to fall under this district, and then, when they come to planning and zoning and they want to make a change to their current buildings or do something that's gonna require a permit process, that somebody turns around and says, you're not in compliance to this, you need to comply to this, and it's gonna make it, expensive or impossible for them to comply, that's what.
The only things that have changed in this section
Okay,
has to do with, there was conditional use for signage, conditional use for accessory structures, which was moved to the accessory structures ordinance we just agreed to, so that's not why it's not in here. And then the parking requirements, nothing else was changed. So, if you wanted to change something to make it better.
No,
if you-
I don't know,
would be-
I just wanna make sure that,
Right.
that you looked into the places that this is going to affect, and that we're not intentionally creating a situation where they're out of compliance and it's gonna
No.
come back to them. Okay, that's all.
There's very few that
Because
are
I
actually
didn't look
in this
into everything
district.
that fall, I don't know what's gonna
Right.
fall in this.
So most of the people that are in this district, there's a few churches,
Yeah,
and then the school district and the village properties, and that's pretty much
Okay.
it across the board. I don't.
okay.
Also, the football fields.
Okay, that's
It's
my
been-
question though. So
Right.
where does that football field fall under this off-street parking requirements?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Doesn't.
So you're saying that they wouldn't have to have off-street parking?
According to this, probably not.
I would think
You
that
could-
we would want to, if you've got football fields and you've got 100 families going there all at one time, I think we would want to add something.
I don't disagree. I don't know what that would be. The problem is trying to figure out what the required amount would be.
And they're likely going to be putting parking lots in sometime in the next year or so, so they're gonna look to this. So,
I mean, they already had a plan that was approved.
I get that,
It
like,
wasn't,
what
if
was
they
that?
altered from that, that would be an issue.
What was that, like, per, how many parking stalls was that?
I can't remember. It was
I
a few
can't remember
hundred.
either.
But the problem with, when you talk parking, the goal is to have enough, I get it. I don't know what that number is. I can't predict out either what the future, I mean, if we went back 30 years when Otto Miller Park wasn't here, we all know it's horrible, but if we said that we had to have a set amount of parking stalls to basically prevent what's happening now, it probably wouldn't have got built. So there's gotta be somewhat of I think, a balance, and I don't know what that balance is and how many parking stalls is necessary.
So we're recognizing that that's a problem on
Right.
John Street. And now we could potentially have that nightmare up on Nice Street, up on the top of the hill, and going down the hill along with the new subdivision.
On that, you mean on that?
Not,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry, Nash
Yeah.
Street. So up on Nash Street. So now, think of all, if they choose, instead of, and because based on this they could, if they say, even though those are the plans that we showed you and all that, based on this ordinance, it actually shows we don't have to put parking lots in. So we've decided to put 2 more fields in instead of the parking lots. They could. And now we have the John Street parking nightmare up on
Mhm.
Nash Street.
Unless you would consider it a community center, exhibits, I don't know.
It's it was under non-for-profit, if I remember that. It was like a whole non-for-profit thing. I think there needs to be some little category of the off-street parking requirement. And I get it, that it puts Otto Miller in a position where there really isn't enough parking according to the ordinance. But that was built prior to the ordinance going into effect. But now we have a potential, and they showed us plans, but there's nothing saying that they're not gonna go, or someone in the future says, instead of these parking lots, let's just put extra fields.
Initially, my goal was to just have it based on a review, but I think it becomes hard. I think the attorney kind of pushed back on that, if I remember. I don't know if that's correct.
It feels like a lifetime.
I know,
Yeah.
I just feel like we should have something in there that covers that, whether it be, so I get it, they probably don't have a maximum capacity, right? Because it's an outdoor facility, it's not like it's an indoor, fire code kind of thing. But I
So-
don't know how that would work.
Well, right, but I guess the question is, how many are you talking about?
So are we gonna be in 20 years from now, a board is gonna be sitting here going, how in the hell did that board allow that? And now look at Nash Street, you can't get through
Parking
here.
wise, I don't think this is a perfect idea for parking. I don't, because the issue becomes is, I don't think there's a good standardized parking size for any civic club organization that is good across the board. I really don't.
I would
Unless you
not
think
want
through
to.
every single type of structure that's gonna be out in these districts, any type of sporting event, any type of anything. It varies so vastly, I don't think there's a good standardized number that you could put to it.
But I think, I'm not comfortable repealing and replacing this unless we at least cover, like,
Currently, there wouldn't be a requirement. It's square
Something.
feet of building. There's no building.
there's no building.
So there's currently no requirement for parking currently for that. That's where it's, I don't know if this is, obviously this isn't an all-inclusive list, but I guess, I don't know a better way of starting one.
Ashley, do you have any input?
Well, I think you're doing it now. You're identifying that there's more to be added here. So I don't know how others deal with that specific problem. You know, if they have, I'm sure,
It was a
for
concern.
sporting venues, that there are ways that other codes handle that, where maybe they're looking at square footage of the facility, even if it's not under roof, or maximum seating, or I don't
I don't know, and I
And it
know
all depends
that-
on the type of use that's going on there. Think about those football fields that we put in. What if they would turn into, like, the stadium
I know,
at the high school? I mean,
but that was a
You
big
can't-
concern for those neighbors that
I-
came here.
I get
they
that, and
voiced
that's not
this.
what's happening, and I don't want anyone to think that
No,
that's what's
and I
happening.
don't either, but
I'm
I
just
don't want
saying,
20 years from now.
You
to be
can't
sitting here.
predict out
I'm not
that
gonna
much.
sit here.
If there's a stadium that's 1,500 seat stadium, then you do it off the stadium seat size, maybe. But
Yeah.
this has no stadiums. So then what do you do in those situations? You gotta just think through 100 different scenarios.
I didn't have the answer, I'm just asking.
No, I
the
know,
question.
I don't know what that looks like and how many we need to think of to be preemptive.
I would just hate to omit it.
I don't, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to add it in, but I guess my question is, what is that number that you think is reasonable for the required number? Because now when you put the required number in, now they might change it as well. So I don't,
Why is this, is there a need for a final decision on this now? Is there something that's,
there's a need for the parking decision because the current parking approval with the current zoning code would basically require the church that's trying to put in their school up in, off of Grandview there, they would have to have 175 or something parking stalls, and it's an elementary and middle school where you have no need for that many stalls.
So there is something. Again,
And
I just don't think we should omit it. I think we should
Right.
at least address it, or if it's an outdoor athletic facility, that it goes
Could it just go to the planning?
planning and zoning, or just reviewed by the zoning administrator, somebody that looks at it, because
Well, that's kind of how it currently is. It's reviewed by staff, and then most of the time they ask us what they need to do.
I'm not saying that that's what they're gonna do, but I'm
Right.
saying, what if in the future they realize that they need more football fields, they tear out the parking lots that they put in, and then they put more football fields or other athletic type of fields, and now we've plugged up Nash Street in a pretty dangerous zone, you know?
Say no
So
parking
what if-
on Nash.
What if we pass this, the way that it is now, with instructions that we come back and amend it in the next meeting or the meeting after that to add in? Because obviously we need it
For Bethlehem,
for
I get
Bethlehem
that.
right now. But we can change this, I mean, and we can look,
Do
so
an
we can look
amendment.
into it, or Nathan can look into what, you know, what other sporting venues have come
So
up
the
with.
the next planning and zoning, we're
Yeah.
talking on
We can add it to it.
a different section, which is one section. And like I said, the one after that, I want to just do the rest, and I can bring this back and changes here.
I just think
for the
that,
rest.
and maybe we talked about this in planning and zoning, but I completely just overlooked that, and now I'm thinking about those facilities, that there could be other facilities like that put in, and
I mean, I would prefer something that allows more flexibility based on the situation, but it's just,
so
This-
currently we've pigeonholed, we've given a category to everything. What if we came up with a sporting complex, or a outdoor public recreation facility
Or, yeah,
needs
And
to,
then-
you know,
do it based off percentage of capacity.
well, but the capacity,
but how do you do that?
how do
with
you do that, right?
Open field, I get with a sports stadium like the school has, but I think the question,
It's kind of just gonna be like the Greenville, sports complex they have out there where it's just, there's not actual stadium, it's just people bringing lawn chairs
right,
or whatever.
so it's like, I guess,
Assuming.
I don't mean to be a stickler, I just think that if we simply don't have it in the list, then it doesn't exist. If we could have something that at least it comes back to, it gets reviewed by someone. Because each situation is gonna be a little bit different. I would hate if eventually this turns into the John Street situation, which is dangerous, and now we have that in another area of our community because we didn't just add one extra number here.
Well, right, but yeah. The concern is always too, though, if they switch uses within that, I mean, if they put in a bunch of stands, there's nothing that,
No,
Can you
Would
just put in there
change
something about
the-
plan zoning has the discretion?
Well, that's why
Isn't that
if
wrong?
you do a percentage of the capacity, they
But-
put in stands, then the capacity changes. It would be just like, it would be similar to like the situation with like Black Otter, where Black Otter's like, okay, we want to expand. Well, yeah, but the rules say if you expand this, you have this many square feet of business, you have to have this many parking stalls. So when they did the expansion, they had to get more stalls. I mean, if you tie it to capacity.
But
I understand it's not easy to get to capacity without stands, but.
right, and then, let's say they bring in a 12, like a little small, like we have in a few of our parks, some small stands that can fit like 20 adults on. So now it's based off of a percentage of the 20 adults that they would only need probably 3 or 4. Like, I guess, I would prefer it if we could have it where it's,
It needs to be something that's kind of flexible, something that,
right,
I can see it in that realm.
but anyone reading that ordinance could look at it and say, oh, well, this is the kind of facility I have to go for a year. And it stops them and it makes them ask the question further. It's not preventing them from it's not preventing anybody and it's not giving them a number, but it's making them stop, pause, and go to someone for review. Because if it doesn't exist on here at all, then we're saying that there's no off-street parking requirements for that type of, recreational facility. All recreational facilities, there's no off-street parking, we'll just depend on the streets.
So can we bring it back? Can we pass this the way that it is and then bring it back and add that?
yeah. I mean,
You're doing
like I
nine.
said,
Throwing that to Julie.
Well,
so it
I
wouldn't
don't
be,
you
know
want
what
it to
you're
pass
getting.
because they need something tonight.
it wouldn't
and I
be
get it.
brought back until, so next month is, so October, it would be probably the last meeting in October, or the first one in November is when the rest of the zoning code would come back with those changes.
Well, we're not in an emergency
No.
mode for it.
No,
to
I
pass.
just
They
want,
need
I want to
it.
make it
Yeah.
clear that it's
Yeah.
not gonna be next meeting I come back with this, because I
Right.
can't. I have to go back through the planning and zoning process through a public hearing to
Yeah.
change the stuff, which is fine if we're already doing it for the rest of the code.
And I'm sorry, I should have caught this at planning and zoning. I didn't.
It's okay.
So tonight we could pass this as is.
As long as everyone's good, then this is technically gonna be the current code for a little bit until we alter it.
Right.
I'm good. I'll make a motion to pass O-7-26.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. G, discussion and possible action on CSM to split out a portion of parcel number 240041600 and combine it with parcel 240041100 and 0-8-26 ordinance to rezone of a portion of parcel number 240041600 from agricultural to public institution, and 2045 plan update future land use from neighborhood residential to civic and institutional.
So it's very long because it doesn't make sense to have them separate, because if one doesn't pass, the other should. So the goal of this is the church is looking at expanding into a elementary school and middle school. Their neighboring parcel, that owner is looking at, just come over there. His current parcel comes out straight up here, So he's splitting out this portion and then combining it with this parcel. In order to do that, the one that's getting split out has to get rezoned to match that primary parcel that they already had. So that's the rezoning portion. And in order to comply with that also, we have to change the 2045 comp plan to basically match that change. There was a public hearing held on this. There was a few people that came. My memory is there wasn't really any concerns that were brought up from
What
residents.
concerns could there be?
Typically, when anything goes in, there's usually some people are concerned with noise, traffic. We didn't get any of those. I think most of those people probably up there already kind of probably knew about this or knew that this was probably in the works at some point. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there were no issues at the public hearing.
No, people
so.
came, but there weren't any concerns. It was
Right.
I think wanted to hear what was going on.
right. And it's a little deceiving. There is about 100 feet estimated from like even that driveway to the neighboring property of where the building actually comes in, or the house to the area there. So it's a decent ways away from the neighbors. So
They've all been notified.
they were all notified for the public hearing. Like I said, a few came out and they were just kind of wondering kind of what it's gonna look like, et cetera. But
Okay.
so everyone within 300 feet were sent letters about the meeting.
So actually, it's almost a two-part motion, correct? So first, we're doing the motion.
It's just
for-
all at once. 'Cause
Yeah.
It basically, the motion passes the ordinance for the CSM and
The 28, 26? This 08, 26 passes the whole thing? Or
the sorry.
08, 26 passes the whole thing?
And probably the CSM, and you'd have to mention the CSM, I believe, as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
Could be it.
All right, I'll make a motion to split up a portion of the parcel number 240041600 and combine it with parcel 240041100 as well as 08-26, rezoning the portion of the parcels from agricultural to public institution.
And,
Did you want me to say more?
It's for the 2045 comp plan.
Okay, okay, so, and 2045 plan update future land use from neighborhood residential to civic and then institutional.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I thought it was all included with the
Motion carried.
26.
H, discussion and possible action on fire fee ordinance O-9-26.
So this is basically based off some of the discussions we've had. What the fee would be, the formula, and an example of that formula. Trying to encompass all fire costs associated with this, which includes not just their operating budget, it's capital projects, debt, or utility, fire hydrant fees as well. So,
And whatever we do here is basically going to be pulled out of the general property tax
yes.
that people get, okay.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve O-9-26.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. I, discussion and possible action on special assessment for Main Street lateral replacement.
These are the 6 parcels that had lateral replacements. The attorney drew this up. And the plan would be to, if it's passed tonight, that we would approach the homeowners on these proposals. They would have the ability to choose if they wanted to move forward or not.
The only thing I wanna caution you is, in order to do it this way where we are asking them to waive this right to notice and a hearing, the only way that works is if they all agree. So if somebody is not willing to move forward in this way, then we're gonna have to go through that special assessment process in order to assess them,
Or not do the work.
or not do the work.
Because the work's on the private lateral, they have the ability to opt it out.
Well,
So, but then they would have a fee and potentially be at some point determined that it has to get replaced anyway, so.
These all have to be done separately, or is it one? Because they're all listed as separate special assessment agreements.
I think you could do one motion to approve all agreements for that project,
I have a question.
if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yes.
In the special assessment agreement, under item 2, it talks about that, or no, I'm sorry, item 4, that the special assessment shall be made by November 13th, 2026, or in 6 annual installments, with each installment, and it discusses like January 31st. Does that commence in 2027?
Correct.
Okay. Do we need to specify that? Or is it just assumed?
I mean,
And not to get nitpicky, but I wash my name off of this, but as a resident, like it, you know, or like somebody looking at this, that way they know when it commences, they know when it starts, right?
sure. We could add that in. I mean, once the agreement is approved and this document is then recorded, it becomes a lien on the property, effective immediately. But sure, we could,
Commencing in January 2027,
Sure.
maybe?
that's an
Just
easy
so that it-
change to make.
Just so that it's a little more clear when that starts and then, yeah.
Is that the interest, is it, or what we're talking about?
It's just talking about, I'm guessing the
If you're gonna do
installment.
it in installments,
Okay,
that the first installment would be,
6.5 interest due on January 31st of each calendar year.
yeah.
And I just
Beginning in
She wants it to say
2020,
beginning in
2027.
Commencing in
Okay.
2027, just so that it's clear when it actually starts.
Okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion with that correction.
I will make a motion to approve all 6 special assessment agreements for the Main Street lateral replacement with the change specified to detail the beginning payments to begin in January 31st of 2027.
Second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Abstain.
Okay, motion carried. J, discussion and possible action on Opera House front patio update.
So, Vinton came in and gave us a quote, after we were questioning it, for replacing of those like window wells in the bottom there. That quote is for, should be noted, it's for mulch replacement, with landscape fabric. I think it's an extra $4,000 or so to put in concrete, in those areas instead. Otherwise, and this is for all but 2 of them, of these window well things. One can't be replaced because it is an outflow vent. It'll show, if you keep going down, I think it's the next page. Oh, one more. It's this page, a little down. There. So, there's those 2 outflow vents. Those couldn't be removed, so this one would probably stay very similar to what it is. The other one that has that, if you go up 1 page, it's got that wooden box thing on it. Under that, there is an outflow vent for the bathroom that was put into the basement in the 90s, is my understanding. That one could be moved to the roof as a vent out there, and then that could take care of that, and so then you would only have one potentially with those outflows further down. So to move that piece of equipment, based on a estimation contract, not times the material, would be about 8,800. That's because there's a lot of unknowns in doing that. If we did it like that, we could do a time and materials contract, which is what would be suggested, and then you're basically at a negotiated rate that's already agreed to. The church kind of reached out to some of their contractors and talked to them about doing that. The problem is timeline. If the board didn't feel comfortable doing that with that contractor, we don't have time to go out for bid. It would just be something we wouldn't do. That contractor can get in before September and get it done. If you're gonna seal up those window wells, it would make sense to kind of do it now, but I understand not wanting to mess with it. I think if you're not dealing with them all at once, other than that one that you can't, it might not make sense to do it. But
I have two questions.
Yeah.
And I sort of asked you
Yeah.
today through text. First of all, it's a registered historical
Yep.
building, and when I first envisioned this when you called me, I thought it was more of just like we're gonna put concrete pad, but I'm realizing now we're talking about bricking of windows and that sort of
No.
thing. No.
all windows are currently bricked. There is no access windows down
Okay.
below.
So what are they talking?
There's mortar and a window cell. The rest of them are mortared and bricked.
Okay. So my question is, you said you've reached out to the state to
Yes.
sort of with this. Okay.
I already submitted our application. Obviously, it'd be dependent on what you guys want to do. If you don't want to do it, we don't have to go forward with it.
That's my only concern because they
They're
were
not
really.
concerned with it. I talked to the person who's reviewing it today, and I kind of explained where we were at in the process. They said, most likely this isn't something we would cover because it doesn't affect anything on the facade. It's an outside exterior thing.
Correct.
So. those
I
are-
just would hate to
Right.
do it without some kind of even some
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
blessing from them. That's my only concern.
No, and they'll get me an answer. I told them I needed it as soon as possible, and kind of talked to her about it. I said, you know,
And
if you
then-
could give me a
Yeah,
yes or no.
and I get it. There's times they can be zippy with that, and sometimes they're like molasses.
Right.
But the other question I had, so this is from Benton, and my only concern is was it a structural engineer? Because now if we're putting weight on something that is currently like an open air area, are we pushing weight into the foundation of that building?
So it was engineered through McMahon.
Okay, that was my
And then the
question.
quote was, and then they quoted that through Vinton's bids.
And we don't have that, right? The McMahon, it's not in the packet, and that's why I was asking you if it was engineered or if just somebody went through there and said, yep, we can fill this in with concrete.
Yeah, the engineering drawing, it's not much, but basically, I can get that to you.
And that's what you submitted to the state, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, those were my two questions.
Right.
So this is, Phil, bust up the frame above the dirt that we have, fill the rest in with concrete and then cover it with
So it depends on,
landscape.
right, so if, you could get rid of the window wells, and that would be an estimation. If you add in that other one, we'd probably say it would be around 30, plus about 8,000 to 10, let's say, extreme
Yep.
amounts, would be probably 10 grand, so you're probably talking around 40. If you wanted to put concrete throughout, you'd add in probably another 4,000 or 5,000 for that. And then you would have basically a front patio area that you could put in benches and planters if you wanted to, and then you wouldn't have issues with leaking into the basement.
Cause that's where they're saying the water's getting into.
Not that I know of through that, it's more
Jane?
through,
Can you put a different one up? That's the only one that's gonna stay, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
If you go to,
The ones with the actual
There you
windows
go.
down
That's
below.
fine.
so there's one that I'm guessing is coming through is the one that's just mortared. If you keep going up,
And the window wells don't provide any sort of structural
Yeah,
on the
Yeah.
sides?
that's probably the one I would suspect is probably allowing the most through. It doesn't have a metal thing over the top, it's just got some, wood, board. And, alternatively, if the idea was not to touch anything,
What can we do to just fix the problem to not blow 50,000 to change it minorly?
so, I guess the other option that we could do to at least address the safety issue of a lot of those grates, because they all need to get replaced, you can do that. I don't know what's causing a lot of the leaking.
Because I know that's the main reason we even were kind of carrying towards this realm, was just because they're saying they're leaking. Obviously, you don't want leaking and causing more future problems. How do we fix that problem?
So the other option, I guess, it's been leaking a little longer, maybe is not a huge issue. The other option to do would be basically not touch it, and you could get someone to come in and give you a whole assessment of the building and where we're at. That is something they used to do on a rotation, pretty much every, I think it was 5 to 10 years. They had a engineering firm come through, tell them what's wrong with the building, what needs to be done, what's just structural problems more concentrating on than necessarily aesthetic.
There's other issues with Alvaros besides these window ones.
There's some decay in some of the wood on the roofs, so.
I just to blow roughly 50,000
Yep.
to just have maybe a bench-ish minorly looks kind of nicer.
Would be a lot of extra concrete sidewalks and stuff.
The other thing is, you also have an active historical society that could potentially apply for grants. So if we decided to just do something a little bit much scaled down, but we've got to figure out the water. Like maybe it's a gutter, maybe we need to look at how that's
All
put
the
up there.
gutters go away from
They
this
go away.
area.
They
There's
should
not-
have 2 more downspouts on that building.
Again,
Right where the valleys come down. they
any
should
more
be-
downspouts, you have to, that all has to get approved through the state. So it's not
Yeah.
happening this year, we have no budget for it.
For 2 downspouts?
It would have to go through the state. Anything that touches that building has to go through the state. If this had to go through the state, even though it's technically, a lot of it's landscaping and then an area that's outside the building even, and it's below ground, so it's not visible for the most part. So if anything that touches that building that's affixed to it, you have to get approved through. Not hard necessarily, they work with people all the time, it's just,
And weren't we doing this now because of what we're doing with the construction on Main Street?
the
So it's
idea was
gonna
to
be-
try to do it now, so you're not, if we do have to go back in a few years, we're not ripping up
Right.
probably 5 slabs of concrete.
Right.
Is it worth it? I don't know. I really don't, because I don't know if it's
Ton of
necessary.
money.
Yeah,
Just
I know.
And I look in the future when this folds back into, 'cause I think the plan is eventually this will fold back into a community center.
Right.
At that point, again, you've got an active 501c3 that is that historic preservation, and I'm just wondering if there's something we can do on a more of a minor level right now, like with the grading, or make it much safer. The trees, to me, kind of hide the building. I
Yeah.
think they're planted too close to the building, and that's my opinion. But maybe we could do something landscape-wise, but I think you've got, when this folds back into maybe a community center, I think maybe we try and maybe go for some grant money to help.
I think if you're looking to do something limited, there's some other options you could look into. I think that might not be a bad idea. The issue is, this is the solution we have for this time, which is fine. We don't need to go forward with it at all. It's just this is the last option we have right now for today.
You can't push this design
Right.
to the next meeting.
No.
So it's a yes or no today, but I think there's some things you could do instead. I mean, there's things you could do with bushes if you wanted to kind of hide those areas, if we figure out how to prevent the water just on that wall and not fill it in, put some grates over it and then put some higher hedges or something that might hide that bottom area so it's not even visible to people. But it's still the Opera House and you're not paying $50,000.
Yeah.
I just,
I didn't expect that number to come in so high when you guys were kind of talking about it. I just,
Yeah, I was not assuming
Yeah.
for this, just.
I mean, I'm estimating it's 50,000 and that's very,
But, yeah,
high,
but if you're talking.
but you're still,
Moving stuff in, especially indoor, yes, it's absolutely gonna go over budget until the
Right.
degree.
right, so I think there might be better options, I just don't know what those are, cause we literally came across this last minute.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this will be like shooting from the hip and you're just helping.
Right, so that's why I don't have a preference either way, I don't know what the best answer is.
I
And
think the
don't you
best
think-
answer is for the historical
We need to
society
say-
to see if there's some grants and then investigate other
Other
options,
Yeah.
instead of trying to rush into this and.
Well, they got a grant to put an elevator in the building at one point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
there's a little weight to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I get it, the grades look like crap. And as a
Yeah.
kid, I could
That
tell,
we
yes,
can
I've
try
played
to
in those window
replace,
wells.
I can amend our application for grades to them, and then we could try to get someone to come in and put some grades in, that'll be pretty minor cost-wise.
We even have some metal fab shops in the area that might.
That's what I was gonna do, but I gotta make sure that it's a good, an agreeable thing with the state, if we're putting on something on the top, I think.
Thank you for doing this, but I just think right now it's a little more than we can chew.
No, that's, like I said, I just wanted to give the option at the last minute, cause
You know. And the way the trees become, there's the trees there. Those weird little fairies.
So then we're good moving on.
I mean, do you want the trees down? I mean, it'd be easy for them to grab it now.
I think the trees are rubbing against the building and are actually rubbing against the windows at some point. And that's
I
what
think it
concerns me.
blocks.
They should be pruned, at the least.
I wouldn't mind them coming out. They're not the kind of tree that's gonna stay small. They're gonna get width to them. They're
Right.
not,
Are those low impact for sidewalks, do you know, Aaron?
Like the root structure.
Yeah.
One of them's a mountain ash, I'm not sure what the other one is, I can't tell.
it's got the little orange, or the little, it's got something on it, yeah.
That's the mountain ash.
I don't know. I just think of, they're rubbing against the building and they're rubbing against that window and
Would you guys
It's only gonna
mind,
get worse.
would you mind if we took those out, especially if they are root intrusive?
I'd be perfectly fine with it,
Do you have to pay somebody or just have Public Works to take them out?
as long as it doesn't affect anything with the building or the window wells.
Our guys can cut them out as no problem.
Yeah, okay.
I think you definitely should,
Doesn't matter.
before they get too big.
Now would be the time to have them do it before the concrete gets put in.
Mhm.
We can get that, so, you know, we can stay in those.
We're good to move on then?
Like we move.
That's all you need?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go to K, discussion and potential action on raise order for parcel number 240016100.
So, this is a building that obviously has been decaying for a while. It became, basically, this last year, the assessor assessed that property at $300. So if a fix to that property would be higher than $150, to make it come into code, basically it qualifies as a potential raised property. Notice was sent to the resident of this, and then brought to the board for approval.
And the only concern I shared, only because I asked Jane, was there's no date on the letter, so was it sent like certified mail that we
It
have
was
a record?
certified mail,
Okay, so then we have a record
yeah.
that they got it, okay, and the date.
Yep.
Is there a sub there a basement, anything underneath this? Are they gonna leave a big hole? What do we,
I have no clue what's underneath.
okay.
Yeah, I would almost think that's on a slab.
I can see partially some concrete. I think it might be brick too. I don't know. It's an old, it's the old, I mean, it's Fan and Oil, I think, used to be in that property, and that was their building there, so, yeah. We do have an ordinance against leaving a giant hole. They're supposed to have those filled in.
Right.
So
Are
the
you
steps,
looking for some kind of action on this?
Yes, basically approving the raise order.
I'll make a motion to approve the raise order for parcel number 2400161000.
A second.
Roll call, Jim.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. L, discussion on village-provided devices for board members. Discussion only.
So in 2020, the village, along with other municipalities, got grants through the federal government to basically try to have meetings, because we couldn't meet in person. So we had gotten board members' devices at that time, and some used them, some didn't. The current devices are end of life. Basically, they're not taking on any more. The storage is filled with the years of updates. So basically, at this point, we need to decide if we want to continue the policy of providing those, or to from providing to board members.
no, we don't only have a policy that says we do provide them, they were just simply something that was a grant, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was a grant, but I think,
Yeah,
I mean, we created a policy on use.
okay,
But-
yeah, I think so. And
yeah.
then, yeah, like for me, I mean, we're an Apple family, and I can get it to download, the update to download, I can't get the updates to actually install.
Right.
Which is, yeah, so it hinders me, when I'm sitting here, I'm looking at maps, I like to be able to make things bigger or whatever, but I'm not sure that that needs to be an expense of the village, or if that just needs to be your own responsibility.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's,
Prior to getting this, I would bring a laptop in, you know, my own personal laptop. It is nice having just my village stuff on here and never on any other devices, that's nice.
I think it was nice for certain people that didn't have those
Mhm.
things, and if they weren't that great with it.
I could make it with just my phone, but this definitely makes it nicer.
Saved it
I
a
don't have
ton of
anything else
paper.
that would work.
Paper, because remember this, we used to have to come get our board packets and they'd be 8 thick.
Yeah, mine on. I print mine on.
Yeah, and it's like, but remember the village printed them all the time. Remember that? We'd come get them like a couple days beforehand and it was this ginormous pack.
Yeah, I know, I used to do it.
And then you go home with this pack, what do you do with it, right? I like the idea that if we're gonna not print packs, then we offer some sort of, but again, no one also should be sitting there on their
Yeah.
phone, right? Because it's this tiny little screen.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is.
I think it's nice to be able to see, regardless if it's your own personal laptop or whatever, it's nice to be able to go on the internet and see if the packet. I think, you know, I don't know.
That when it gets
So,
amended,
In
the
a
date
perfect
of.
world, you guys have devices that you handle all village business on and no personal use, and you're not using personal devices for village business.
You were the next person I was gonna ask, as somebody who, like, to me, like, my village email's on here. Yes, I have it on my phone, but I don't have it on any other device,
I
right?
mean, it just gets complicated, especially when we get open records requests, or if there's litigation and discovery requests, and I'm having to ask you to bring in your cell phone and your personal laptop and start going through things.
Going through pictures and.
Gets uncomfortable pretty quick.
So Apple does have a trade-in program.
I haven't looked into anything, I haven't had time to look at whatever.
And I wonder if we look into just what are these valued at, right? And maybe they're a trade-in program.
Okay.
I've never used one, for the provided devices, but I would, but you see me with mine all the time. It's easy for me, I own a computer store. But I tell you that, even owning a store, having a laser printer, I still don't wanna print out a 70 to 90 page, packet,
No.
which is why I just print the agenda and I download the entire packet to the device. So I do understand, even though I've never used it, and I absolutely would not wanna go back to having to have paper copies for everything, because that is, it's extremely inconvenient. And it's also very expensive if you're doing it on your
Yes,
own. It adds up
It
really
is.
quickly.
it does.
Yeah.
I only use, I don't, my village email, that's the only way I access it is through this.
Yeah,
So
might as well.
I definitely would not put that
It
on the
keeps it
phone.
cleaner. So if maybe we could, I don't know if we're looking at budget-wise, budgetary, but I think all of those iPads, I don't remember how many there were, those, do we compare it to like a Microsoft Surface type of thing? Because it doesn't need to have,
My only thing that I wanna let you guys know, I don't wanna sway you anyway, but I just don't wanna be talked to about a Microsoft Surface. I don't deal with Microsoft stuff, so I'm not the person to ask.
I'm an Apple person
I
too.
am
but-
too, and I don't care if you go with Microsoft, it's gonna be probably cheaper. I know I get a lot of questions from people on how things are supposed to go, and even with the Android phones, Aaron deals with that, cause he's
Oh,
an
yeah.
Android person, so,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Apple is just, it's stupid easy.
Yeah.
That's why-
It's pointless.
Because I
Yeah.
hate Apple.
So-
It's really hard to screw
I hate Apple.
I
Can't stand
I
it.
can't
I'm
use
an
it.
Android.
I hate Android.
forever.
So could we look
You
into
got
a
a quarter.
trade-in, like what the potential trade-in, because this might be, even if it's worth $100 trade-in wise, that defrays the cost of a replacement of it, and they might also have a special pricing, like I know
They
that
do
if,
have a government pricing.
for
that's
government
what we
pricing, 'cause I
have
know if my kid uses his school email, he gets a discount.
I would suggest you come back with like some pricing numbers that might give us a better idea of
Mhm.
whether or not this is worthwhile. If you come back and say it's
With
gonna
the
be.
trade-in or without?
I'll say both.
Either way,
You know what these are as far as like what the model numbers and stuff are,
Mhm.
and then you can go on their Apple website and you can put any device in, and it'll tell you,
Well, it's not that, we have to contact them directly, especially if we have government pricing, it's
Oh,
different for the
okay.
trade-ins.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know
maybe they
what
don't
it
want
is,
it.
it might be better, but, I can reach out and see what it would be.
I think that would be, before budget time would be nice.
mhm.
Let me know, cause let me know what their trade-in is, cause it's, I can look up the value of them outside of your trade-in and tell you what.
Yeah, I'll bring whatever they send me, like, yeah. Do you want other type of devices as well? I mean,
Yes.
You can go for it.
I mean, I'm in the same camp as I've always been, I don't need one.
I have a hard time using Apple, that's why I don't use it, so.
right,
But if the person who handles any of the questions and installs and all that stuff here is an Apple person currently.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the future
I
brings,
only
but,
answer questions because I
I
don't
mean-
use Apple, so I have to ask you questions, so
right.
otherwise I'd be fine with anything else.
I mean, installing like the emails on there is not the problem, it's the little things that pop up that become annoying and trying to deal with, but if I'm talking Microsoft Surface or something, but.
While we're at it, could we look into like a Microsoft, or not a Microsoft, but an Apple TV or something of that, so that I've noticed the last few meetings you've struggled to
Yeah,
connect.
I don't know what's happening
But
between.
if you connect to the HDMI direct cable, then you can Wi-Fi right into, or that Bluetooth right to that device.
Mhm.
Because if we're gonna budget for this, I think that could be something that is part of that whole shebang.
Like instead of the projector, like a little larger TV or like a.
No, an actual just little,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I have to figure out.
You're talking about a Mac Mini.
not even a Mac Mini, just an Apple TV device, like an
Oh,
Apple,
TV.
like the little tiny black.
I don't know if
black
it's
box.
I don't know if that would help. I gotta have someone come in because I tried it with the Roku. The Roku was working the other day and now after a few days, it's not recognizing that device anymore. And I don't know if it's a mixture of our Wi-Fi network and it could be part of our extenders that are not reaching and they're reading the extenders and not the actual,
Just because that's at home, we screen here. with
look
our
into
Apple
the
TV
issues we're
on
dealing
every,
with.
well, on a couple devices. Okay.
We're good then? Okay, we'll move to M, discussion and potential action on requests for bike parking on Pine Street between Main Street and Alley 1 on August 14th, and handicap parking along North Oak Street in front of the Commercial Club Park for the Harley raffle event on August 15th.
My only question on that, and maybe I was seeing things, but isn't there a ginormous pile of gravel on Pine Street right now? Like, really big pile of gravel?
Huge.
So like where the barricades are and then
There wasn't
southward?
the other day when I went through, so
Ginormous pile,
Right.
so my fear is, part of that Pine Street, I think is considered active work zone, so like,
part of Pine Street is, but the rest of it isn't.
could we consider it like barricades and north?
They
Yeah.
enter by Bethlehem, they can enter into the part that's not getting taken.
I don't know, but I drove through
The
there and I
pile
went,
is
oh my
giant.
god, this is on the agenda tonight.
They just dumped it in the afternoon, I
Okay.
think.
Temporary, but.
But who knows if, you
Might
know,
be gone there.
But, I mean, I can talk to them tomorrow and see if they can move it too and see how much they can move it. So if you say barricades in north, we can see if they can get it ready for the end of the day.
okay.
Just need a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept the bike parking for accommodations for the Harley raffle as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright.
Aye.
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 Alright,
Motion carried. And discussion and possible action for temporary detour, no parking on Oak Street between Main Street and Nash.
Much like the previous conversation here, things are changing daily, and I just want you to know that this is on my radar. This was that no parking zone that we implemented at the beginning of the year on Oak Street. We did talk with the districts, the school district, this week. We want to reach up to St. Peter and Paul. The plan at this point is by September 1st, we were told that that should be shifted to Main and Nash. I don't know. So we'll just have to play that out over the next couple of weeks. I've shared that with the district. I think that my main concern would be school is starting on the 31st. So we're going to have increased traffic, buses, all those sorts of things there. And I think I want to take a look at that before we make any adjustments. And a lot of that's going to play into, is September 1st really going to be Main and Nash? So I think I'm just informing the board. It's on my radar. I'll probably have another update at next board meeting of where we stand with, you know, some of the construction stuff and some of those detours. I don't, based on my conversations with those residents there, I don't think that they have any urgency to get that back parking. They were okay with the no parking there. So I don't foresee any complaints there, but it's just something I'm monitoring right now.
And with school starting, it's gonna be an increase of, yeah.
And I just don't know what that's gonna look like with the downtown construction, so I just wanted to put it out there because it's been one of those things that's been no parking all summer. And with school starting and potential changes coming, we're aware, we're watching, we're monitoring.
I have the first day of school as September 1st on their calendar.
It may be I thought the K through 9 came back the 31st, but maybe it is K through 9 through the 1st, and then following that, the 2nd is everybody.
Yeah,
Okay.
the second is the first day of school then for the rest of the high school.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's September 1st.
And talking with the district, they weren't concerned about parking on Oak Street. They said if temporarily we need to, and I just said at this point, it's hard for us to nail down dates, not knowing construction and things, and they were totally okay with that. So I think it's just one of those things we have to monitor. But especially that first week of school, I think I don't think I'd be making any changes especially until we see what that's gonna look like down there, so just informational at this point, and I'm sure it'll come back next board.
Okay, then we'll move to 10, reported village officials. A, clerk treasurer Jane.
My report was in the packet, excuse me. We've had 36 absentee voters in person so far, very small turnout. That last day to do that is tomorrow, ending at 5 o'clock.
Any questions for Jane? Okay, we'll go to B, director of public works. Aaron?
My report was in the packet, and our sidewalk maintenance contract that we went out to bid this spring with has been completed by Capital R, so that's all done for the year.
Any questions for Aaron? Okay, we'll move to C, police chief Brian.
Reports in the packet, wild to think about, but school is right around the corner, so getting scheduling all done and SROs ramped up to get started there. A couple big community events. National Night Out was on Tuesday night. We figured we had about 650 people there in about 2 hours, so great turnout, great event, and that's it.
It was a wonderful event.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions for Brian? Okay, D, library director Ally.
My report was in the packet. Right when we were excited to be full staff, we had a resignation in favor of finding another job elsewhere, which great for them, really, really great for them, not so great for us. So I will be assessing the needs of the staffing and what we are actually looking for, and posting that soon. In the meantime, our library system provides a substitute program, which is really great. We didn't have that before. So when we are short-staffed, they can bring somebody in to cover those gaps. So we're very fortunate to have that. We've used them 3 times already. And you can tell from our programming outreach and statistics, we're having a heck of a summer. Real busy. I put our number of cards held on this one. They only release it quarterly. Pretty proud of our library service that we have over 4,300 card holders for a 3,300 municipal population, but we're pretty comparable to Little Chute with 4,700 cards held, but their municipal population is over 11,000. So for us to have a good amount of card holders in comparison is something that we are pretty proud of. And yeah, that's it.
Any questions for Ally? Okay, we'll move to E, attorney Ashley.
Back full-time as of last week, but I won't be here for your next meeting, so another attorney will be here in my place, and then you're stuck with me after that. I'm taking vacation.
Any questions for Ally? Or for Ashley, I'm sorry. F, administrator Nathan.
Main Street project is moving quickly here, for the stormwater at least. Bridge has been out now since the beginning of the week. Just kind of dealing with day-to-day issues that pop up there. Pipes underground that with logs, etc. Every day is interesting. Outside of that, just kind of working with some small businesses on that small business development grant. We had one dropout, or amend theirs to lower it down. I'm trying to get verification on all the others on where they're at. That grant is obviously due at the end of the year to the state. We requested for an extension. The state said come back closer to that time. So we're hoping to apply for that in November, but at that point they could just say it's done. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case, so I'm trying to push the ones that haven't started to kind of start to at least get something more done than what they have if they haven't touched it. So there's a few things that we're gonna be monitoring over the next few weeks. We're gonna be meeting with the Economic Development Committee on the one application that was reduced down, and then some other applications came in too, to try to get those done by the end of the year. And hopefully we don't have to do anything that would be, I would hate to give money back, let's say that. The state gave us this grant, it'd be nice if we could utilize it for those downtown businesses, but if they don't meet the deadlines, there's nothing we can do, so.
Is there anything that we, as financially, we could, what is the holdup for some of these businesses? Is there something that we could do to front some money so that they're able to pay for it? And is it that it's
So
a
I
financial?
wouldn't front any, I think some of it might just be, so some of the issues obviously is downtown,
Yeah.
Being redone was an issue. There was one that was gonna do painting. They didn't wanna be painting if there was dust in the air, which I get, makes sense. So theirs was delayed for that. Some of them, I think, we're trying to figure out when downtown was actually gonna start. Was it gonna be all summer, et cetera, and we were too. So I think that affected some. Some are doing it themselves, the work, so that also hinders some timelines, but, I think finances was a problem for, a few of them, or whether or not they wanted to do that big of an investment. So,
Just nothing that we could, I mean, if we can help in any way, you would bring it to us and.
yeah, I mean, there's not a good way to, I mean, it's risky. To front money like that out isn't gonna benefit us for, if they don't do it, or, yeah.
Or if they needed financing, that they could receive something.
Most of them can, with this, so there was a few people that called me early on, some contractors, and wanted to know about the details, and I explained it to them so that they felt a little more comfortable, maybe not getting as big of a down payment, with some of the people that came in. So I did explain the program. I said, once it's assigned, it's assigned. They have this for facade loan, they have this for a facade grant, which would only be reimbursed after the work is done, and I can look through and make sure the work is done, and then we release the funds, so.
So you're doing it, it's just, if there's anything that,
No, I know, it's more trying to figure out if they're all still going forward with it. There's only one that I'm still waiting to hear from, that's the last one that's very large amount of money, and if that one opens up, then I would probably propose to reduce down the amount of the loan and increase the amount of the grants from our current and proposed recipients that would be at that meeting, so,
so a spin on this. A topic we talked about earlier, if there's money left over that's not being utilized, the Opera House is off the board.
yeah, you can't, it's gotta be a private business.
It's gotta be private
It's a small
business, okay.
business development grant that's,
But,
you know, no,
okay. Gotta ask.
yeah, I get it.
Any other questions? Okay, we will move to G, building permit report. The July report is in the packet. H, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussions? Anyone? Okay, we'll move to 11, communication and miscellaneous business. Pardon? Oh. A, Black Otter Lake District news. Is there anything?
No new
Aaron?
news since the last meeting. The annual meeting again is on August 27th, and it starts at 5:30 in this room.
And then B, Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District news. Jim?
Nothing new.
Okay. C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and news. It looks like May, June, and July are in our packets. And D, Hortonville Civic Association. Jane?
Nothing new.
E, Senior Activities. Treese?
On August 17th, we're going to have the Wisconsin foodie video with real cheese at the event. If you're hungry, you could stop in. The 25th of August is the tour of Creekside Creamery, and the foot care, what would you call it? Clinics are going to begin on September 21st.
Okay.
I talked to the woman, she is from up north, but she does the New London Foot Clinic, so she's gonna expand into Hortonville. And she's full in New London, so she's gonna have her New London, or her Hortonville people that go to New London come to ours.
Okay,
We have a new service.
wonderful. Okay, then we will move to 12, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Is there anything? Yes?
This is directed at Karen, and I'm sorry to pick on you. I've had a lot of people comment to me that this is the village administration building, and a lot of people come here. Why does the front, the landscaping up here looks so awful? There's trees growing in bushes that shouldn't be there, there's weeds, and they're just wondering why this building is not a priority. So, that's all I have.
Something
Any-
we're working on.
Anyone else have comments? Yes,
I just want to say thank you for your consideration.
you're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, we will move to 13. I would need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:57.